Hey guys, welcome to this week's video. In this week's video, apart from my face being back in it, we're going to be doing the Dead Nation style project again. This week, unfortunately, I've not got a great amount of time, so I've just put in a couple of extra features. One of them is actually a bug fix. So one thing I did notice is if you switch to the SMG and you just single clicked, it didn't actually fire because it didn't give the timer enough time to start up. So what I've actually done is just a real simple bug fix. Should have done that originally. I've added that in now, so then it actually single fires, but then if you keep hold of it, it does auto fire. So apologies for that, but that's to get things started as a bug fix. And what I've also done is I've added in a pipe bomb. So you throw the pipe bomb, that blinks away, and then it'll explode. And if you can see, there's a bit of text here. What I've done is I've set up sort of like a radius, and depending on how close you are to the center of that, will depend on how much damage you'll take. So you'll see that here that I've just done 180 damage to this this text. That might just be a bit too far away, but if we get something a little bit closer, you'll see there it was just a bit close enough. It's only done 25 damage, and that sort of grows as you get closer and closer to it. So basically, the better you are at aiming your pipe bomb, the more chance that there is of something taking full damage, I guess. Obviously, what we'll do is eventually we'll build on that. Once we set up an AI system, we'll set up a sound, and obviously with Dead Nation, the zombies here, the pipe bomb, we'll build on that, and essentially we'll get it to emit a sound, and then we'll get the AI zombies to hear that. But with that being said, let's get in, let's make the pipe bomb, let's do the bug fix, and that's that. Yeah, so let's crack on. Okay, so first and foremost, what we want to do is just do this bug fix on the SMG. So if you go to your third person character blueprint where we've done the SMG line trace, essentially what happens is when you click and you've got the SMG selected, what happens is this timer starts up, but it takes 0.125 seconds before it does its first loop. So within that time, you want a bullet to have already been shot, and then by the time that ticks over, the second bullet will come out automatic. So essentially what we're missing is where we do this fire SMG command to spawn sort of the effects and the line trace itself, or the bullet trace, shall I say. We just want to do a fire SMG here, and that's simply just going to, before this has had time to do that, it's already fired. So we hit compile now and play, and switch over to the SMG. You've now got a single click fire, but then you keep hold of it and it becomes the automatic, as you'd expect. So that's the SMG bug fix. Let's move on to the pipe bomb. Okay, so before we start the pipe bomb, you may have noticed my t-shirt's changed and my hat has appeared. We are a bit later on in the day. I had some things that went on that I had to stop recording, but anyway, we're back now, and let's do the pipe bomb. So open up your content drawer, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a blueprint class, and we're going to select an actor for this one, and we're going to have BP underscore pipe bomb as the name. Now we've picked an actor because we are going to be spawning it in the world. Double click on that. So now we're in the blueprint. What we're going to do is we're just going to create the static mesh first, so how it appears. Now this is pretty simple, to be honest. We're just going to add in a cylinder, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to rotate it. I'm going to try anyway. I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees, and then I'm just going to make it the default scene route straight away. Now the reason that I rotated it first is because if you didn't, it doesn't actually give you the ability to rotate once you make it a default scene route. And the reason we do make it the scene route is when we later on add in a projectile movement, for some reason, this may be something that I'm not aware of, but the default scene route causes some issues with projectiles and they just don't move. As soon as I make the default scene route a static mesh, like we've just done, the projectile moves. So if you carry on and you haven't done this part and it doesn't move for whatever reason, this may be why. But anyway, so back onto the cylinder. I'm going to make this 0.1 by 0.1 by 0.2. That's nice and small. I'm then going to add in another cylinder, And this one should be sort of a child of the original cylinder. And I'm actually going to rename this one to end L. And you can see here that the scale has sort of scaled up based off its appearance. So I'm just going to reset this, and then I'm going to set this to 1.2, 1.2, and 0.2. So the scale is 1.2 now because its parent is 0.1. So with this being a child, a whole 1 is the same as its parent, if you wonder why the numbers changed. Anyway, we're going to move this then to the end of the tube, and let me zoom in here. This is starting our sort of pipe shape. And then we're going to duplicate the end L and rename it to end R. And as you probably expected, put it on the other end. So now we've got a pipe shape, that's fine. Now the other thing that makes a pipe bomb is a point line. So if you go to add, there should be one up here under common. If not, just type in light and you'll have a point line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that out to this end here, which should make it look more like a torch, to be honest. But we're going to change the light color here over on the right to a red. And I'm actually going to turn the attenuation radius down to maybe 250, something like that. And that's just the radius that the light will affect. Which, because the intensity is quite low, it's really not going to affect too much, but it could. That's fine. So I'm going to hit compile, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this into my world and just see what it looks like around my character. And I am going to rotate it. Ooh, I am going to rotate it slightly, just so it falls and bounces on the ground. So if we hit play, it doesn't actually move. Oh, my apologies, we forgot to enable physics. So back in your pipe bomb, select your cylinder, the topmost cylinder, and on the right hand side here there's just a tick box, simulate physics. Now if we hit compile and go back into our game and play, this should fall to the ground and not disassemble. So there we go, that falls onto the ground and everything looks fine, to be honest. I like that. And if we go and run into it, it flies off. Now if you want, you can change the collision where it doesn't affect people, but if you're throwing this at a zombie, you probably want it to bounce off them. So that's that. Now let's make it flash. So by default that light is on. So when I throw it, what I'm thinking is the light's going to be on when I throw it, it's going to land, and then it's going to start blinking and then explode. So because we're going to spawn this in, essentially once we've spawned it, the event begin play will start from then for this item. So we can use that, and I want it to wait a couple of minutes so it's still lit while I throw it. But what we can do is we can use a timer by event, because we're going to want to create a blinking light anyway, but we can set up an initial delay. So we can say, right, don't flash for the first 3 seconds in the initial delay, and then we're going to want it to loop and do this blinking light for us. So I'm going to want it to blink maybe every 0.15. I want it to loop, and the event that I want it to do is going to be a custom event, and the custom event is going to be blink light. Now for the blinking light, obviously we've got this light that's sort of going on, and we just want to sort of turn the visibility on and off to create the blink. So we'll leave that on, and with your light in the scene, grab that in. Ooh, drag off that, and we're just going to do set visibility. No, we don't want to do set, sorry, my bad. We want to do toggle visibility. Toggle's just on and off. So in theory that should work. So there we go, it's spawned, we've thrown it, now it's landed, now it's going to start blinking, and now we want it to destroy itself and explode and do damage to people. So that's quite easy to achieve. What we need to do, we need to think about a total time as well. So I'm going to have thrown it for 3 seconds. I want it to blink for at least another 3 seconds, and then I want it to explode. So it's going to have like a 6-second fuse time in a sense. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to do a delay node, and I want to delay this for 6 seconds. So this gives this time to be thrown and blink for 3 seconds, and then eventually I'm going to want to destroy it. So that's going to be my last thing, destroy actor. That'll get rid of it. So in the meantime, we want to do an emitter, a particle system to blow up, and we want to apply a radial damage. Now, I say radial damage because it'll explode in every direction, and we want to apply damage in every direction. So that's probably the easiest to do to start with. So let's do radial damage. So apply radial damage. Now, I'm going to select the with fall off. Now, the reason that you probably want a fall off is because anything that's underneath the grenade or the pipe bomb will take full damage, and anything on the outer edge will take sort of like a proportionally less damage the further away you are. I think without the fall off, you don't get that. You just get a solid amount of damage within a space. So for me, now I don't have a ton of experience with these radial damage nodes, so you're going to have to play around with this, but some numbers that I've found that work okay for me, and obviously it depends on what the damage base is in your system as well, in your game. So I'm going to set my damage base as 250, so anybody that stood right underneath my pipe bomb is definitely going to be killed. But somebody who's on the outer side still has a chance of dying, but anybody right on the edge of it just takes like still quite a bit of damage, but not a ton of damage. So I'm going to set a minimum damage. I want to at least do 25 damage. Now, my enemies are going to have a health of 100. So if they stood right at the edge of my grenade blast, I want it to at least do 25 damage of that. Now, the origin is probably going to be the actor location. So that's where do you want the explosion to start from. Now, with a grenade or a pipe bomb, you're probably going to want that to start from where the grenade is in the world. That just makes sense to me. Now, the inner radius is, if you was to put a bubble around your grenade, this is the area where 100% damage is going to be applied. So for me, anyone stood within 100 units, which is not actually that big, that's only a meter away from the grenade, is going to get 100% damage. Now, my outer radius, I'm probably going to go for 300. So it's still not that far away, but it's not massive either. And the fall off, now this is where my experience gets a little bit loose. I typically go with a fall off of 1, because if I start increasing it, the outer damage just seems to get far too high, because I feel like it's how far it is away times the fall off. Not 100% certain on that, but this sort of number, the fall off of 1, it gives me a nice proportion. Now there are other things that you can plug in here. What caused the damage, who caused it, so you could say the person who threw it, you know, parent or owner, you know, get owner, and then you can set up your owner when we spawn it as you. If you want to sort of differentiate who's attacking who, but you're probably not going to need to know that on each zombie. If you was to go through multiplayer and you have like friendly fire, that could be useful, something like that. Anyway, we're getting held up on extra details there. So that's going to apply a radial damage. Now, if we want to test that, what we can do is, if we go back to our content drawer, we can create a new blueprint actor and call this one damage test. And open it up. And what we're going to do is just add in a text and a collider, a sphere collider. Now I'm going to increase this sphere radius to 200, and I'm going to make it visible. So where it says hidden in game, just untick that, And in the text renderer, what we're going to do is just change this one to center and center again. And I'm going to change the text size to 100 just so we can see it. And in the event graph, what we want to do is on a tick, because this is only a tester. On a tick's fine. What we're going to do is drag in our text renderer and set text. Actually, we don't need the tick, because what we can do is event any damage. So as soon as we take damage, this is going to set anyway. That's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the text, and the value is just going to be our damage converted to a text. So what we can do now is we can drag this into our world. Let's put this over here. Now the good thing is you can actually see the sphere, so you can see where your grenade is going to be, and that should be fine. So if we have a look, this might be a good thing to do actually, because we've done our outer radius as 300. What we could do, we could set our light attenuation radius to 300, hit compile, and then if these circles overlap now, we'll know that it's going to affect this. So if I hit play, this shouldn't change this text at all. So it hasn't, that's good. But then if I move this grenade over here, so the overlap only just, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move that text up just a tiny bit and hit play. I'm expecting this text to change now. So there we go. Because it was right on the very edge, it took my minimum damage of 25. Now the chances are, because it was right on the edge, if I hadn't set that minimum damage, it might be something like 1.23. But if I move this closer now, it's still doing 25. Okay, let's move it closer. This is where we might need to boost our damage values a little bit. So there we go. So now it's doing 95. But then if it's right up close and personal, which it's still not right on top of it, but it should still do a significant amount of damage, 250 straight away. So you can see how being in that area sort of gives you a fractional amount of damage, but not the entire amount. But being right up close to it, guaranteed death. So that'd be good, because what we're going to do is later on we're going to build on it, and we're going to add in sort of when we build the AI detection, sound detection. So when they hear this pipe bomb going beep 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 beep, which is Dead Nation style, they're all going to run to that. They're all going to crowd around it, so they're all going to be close anyway. But anything that's gathered around the outside is also going to take a bit of damage. Now, we're not at the point of sort of doing the sound and the AI. That'll come when we do the AI. But that's what we can build into. So really, we've got a grenadier that's pretty useful. I think we can test the damage. That's cool. We've applied damage. I think we just need to make a quick particle effect. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because it's not sort of a big part of this video. But let's just go to effects. Let's create a new Niagara emitter. Let's create a new one. And I think, to be honest, we will use an omnidirectional burst, because that's kind of like a fountain puff of particles. Double click that. Let's call this explosion. Explosion. Open that up. Now this is the first time I've opened an emitter today, so this might hang just a little bit. So there we go. This is opened. Let it compile. We can see that this is just like a quick burst of particles. That's fine. If we go to the initialize particle, let's set the color to red, something like that. And I'm just going to pull it down actually, so it's sort of like an orangey red, and that looks a bit nicer. And to be honest, I'm not going to spend much more time on it than that, just changing the colour. Let's go back to our content drawer, right click on our explosion and create a Niagara system. It's closed the bar there, but it has created an explosion system just here. With inside the pipe bomb, let's drag off this and let's create a system. Is it system or is it spawn system? Spawn system. There we go. So spawn system at location. So the location that we want is going to be our actor location, so we can just drag that straight through. Rotation doesn't really matter and scale doesn't really matter. We want to keep them standard. But the system template we want to do at the moment is the explosion, which luckily was right at the top for us. Auto destroy, auto activate, that's all fine. And then we're going to destroy everything at the end here anyway. So 6 seconds, apply damage, explosion, and then destroy. Hit compile, hit play. So our grenade, pipe bomb lands over there, starts blinking, bang, damage done. Perfect. So what we really need now is some movement to it. So we're going to add a component. We're going to add a projectile movement. And with this, we're going to have an initial speed of 900, a max speed of 900. I'm going to add a bounciness, a bit of bounciness, but I am going to set the bounciness to like 1. Or do I want a 0.1? So I'm going to set it to 0.1, sorry. I got the scale a bit wrong there. 0.1. And what that's going to do is 0 is no bounce and 1 is really bouncy. So by having 0.1, it's bouncy, but it's not like rubber all over the place. And again, you can just adjust this to fit your sort of feel of game. Now friction, I am going to add this to 1 because I want the friction to be quite high. Even though it's bouncy, I don't want it to sort of like slide around. But I want it to move just enough where it looks like it's actually round and it's going to roll around. That's almost it. We just need to pick the velocity direction. So when I throw it, I want it to go forward, but I want it to go up a little bit. So what we're actually going to do is I'm going to put 1 in the X and 1 in the Y. And there should be... Oh no, we've set it there at the initial speed. So we're probably going to come back and we're going to play with these figures just a little bit. So let's just play and let's just see. So it's just chucked itself over there, but it's not been spawned yet. So let's have a go at that. Let's spawn it from our character and then we'll get a proper feel for what it should look like. So over to the third person character. Now I'm probably going to just spawn it up here at the top. Now if you want to keep this permanently, what you want to do is go to your project settings. And you want to go down to engine and then input, and then let's add a new action mapping and add a new one, and I'm going to call this one throw item. Throw item. I'm terrible at capitalization. Throw item, and I'm going to have this set to keyboard and then Q. And or should I set it to throwable, and then later we can create another one called consumable, and maybe like some health potions and put that on like the key E. I'm probably going to do that. So throwable I'm going to set to Q. So I'm going to go back to my third person character. I'm going to right click and I'm going to type in throwable. Keep spelling it wrong. Throwable. So from throwable, when the key is pressed, what I want to do is I want to spawn actor from class. Now my actor is going to be pipe bomb. BP underscore. There we go. Oh, I spelled pipe bomb wrong. Spelling's not been my strong point in this video, has it? Okay, so we're going to spawn Piepi bomb, and the spawn transform is going to be let's split it actually, because I don't really want to give it a rotation. The transform scale I really want to be the same, but it's the location that I'm going to be bothered about. So what we want to do is let's get our forward vector actually let's get actor location to start with, but then let's add Let's add 50 to the X, just so it doesn't collide with ourselves. 50 might not be enough actually, but let's just try that. Let's hit compile. Let's see what this does. So hit play. I hit Q. Whoa. Okay, maybe the scale is important. Right. So let's go to our pipe bomb. Let's scroll up to the top. Select cylinder. 0.1, 0.1, 0.2. 0.1, 0.1, 0.2. That was quite funny actually. Now let's try again. So there we go. So I don't mind that straight off the bat. Obviously it's only going straight because we've not set up the rotation, but that throw straight off the bat is pretty neat. Okay, I don't know what happened there. That was interesting. So we throw the grenade. It's got a decent height and it's got a decent forward. I think the height might be a little bit too much for me actually, so I'm going to go back to my pipe bomb, go to projectile movement, and I am going to set the Z value to 0.5 just so it's not as high. Let's see what that looks like. So there we go, that's a bit better, that's a little bit lower. It's going about shoulder height. Again, you can adjust this to how you want. So we just need to get the location a little bit better. So let's get our actor rotation, and then hopefully then whichever way we're pointing it should throw in. So if we're looking over here, it throws over there. Okay, so that looks fine. So let's see what damage this one does over here to our text. So it doesn't do any, so that's fine. I'd expect that to do a little bit of damage. There we go, so it's done 25. So pretty much there. Let's have a look what we've got. So the pipe bomb, once it's spawned, handles its own death. We've got where it's spawning from, its rotation. Obviously, instigator here is the actor that created it. You could set yourself that as self, and then if you was to use the pipe bomb's damage causer or instigated by or whatever, you can link to that, and then you can find out who's created that problem or that explosion. But that's pretty much it. We've got pipe bombs. I hope that was of some use to you. I know some of you are following this series. This isn't for everybody, I understand that. But if it did help you out, consider giving me a like. Leave some comments down below. Tell me if it was great, what you'd rather see, or just anything to do with any other video I can try and do for you. And yeah, that's it. So thank you for watching. Consider subscribing. Discord and other social links are down below. Come and chat with me. And if you do want to support me, there is also a Patreon link. This project is on Patreon, so anybody that sort of becomes a member on Patreon at any level, so from the cheapest one we do to the most expensive, you'll have access to that. And yeah, I appreciate your support. Thank you. I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.